So just take a deep breath with me in this moment. And we're taking this deep breath together in an effort to be fully present. Do you feel fully present right here, right now? If if you're still concerned with what's going to happen when this is done or what you're missing out on right now, I invite you again to just connect with your breath. Connecting with that in breath and the out breath. This year's theme is Living Everyday Wonder. And this month, we start off with the same exact theme as Living Everyday Wonder. And today, I get an opportunity to talk about embrace the now. You know, it's said that the universe conspires for your highest good, and that life happens as you. So if it is true that the universe conspires for your highest good and life is happening as you, what does that bring to mind for you? What does that mean for you? I don't see the universe as people, but, when I think about somebody conspiring, I see the rubbing of the hands. I like to call it sometimes plotting and scheming for your good. When I hang out with Reverend Kevin, he calls it dreaming and scheming for your good. And when I think about that, the universe is conspiring for my good. Wow. Can I actually embrace that idea? That the universe is conspiring for my good, that it's plotting and scheming and dreaming and scheming, and it is making things so available so that I might live my best life, that I might enjoy this human expression. And what's fascinating for me is that for many of us, as I think about that and as I have conversations around that, that people actually believe that life is a series of random events. Of just random events, things that just kind of happen. But what life is this highly intellect unfolding as me, unfolding as you. That right where you are, and here's where the smiles come from our community, because our community loves when I say this, is that right where you are the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful, special, delightful, magnificent way that God is showing up in human form. And I try to come up with some more exuberant and amazing descriptions for you to know that your life is not just time to make the donuts. That it's not just another day. Another day. We wake up to, oh, good God, another day. Instead of, good God, it's morning. Instead of rising with this delight. And to the degree in which we recognize that the universe conspires for our highest good, we can actually begin to live in this everyday wonder, like waking up in the morning going, I wonder what grand adventure this day holds for me. What's even more interesting is that for those of us who are in our golden years, or even our years of retirement or semi-retirement, where there's absolutely no specific agenda. It's not like you got to go punch the time clock or anything like that. It's just like, whoa, I wonder what adventure is at hand for me today. Where can I begin to actually look and just be fully present and enjoy this now moment so that I might benefit from the universe's conspiring for my highest good? Like, if we don't even know that that is what's occurring and that that is what's happening, how can we ever be present to it? And I think that even for those of us who are still at a 9 to 5, those of us who are maybe in school, those of us who are still maybe under the rules and regulations of parents and of those who love us, our guardians, that even then, as we're growing and maturing and as we're coming into our own, that even then we can wake up and go, wow, I wonder what magnificent adventure is in store for me today. I wonder how and what the universe has cooked up for my benefit today. And then, of course, I'm going to bump into some who are like, sunshine, you've been dreaming and scheming for too long. That is not even the truth of life. Like, that is not my experience. And I am imagining that for those who might be in a struggle, those who might be in even a fight, that those who might be, living day to day, like, what's the use? That even with just a short or a small shift in our awareness and in our consciousness, that the beauty of life begins to unfold. I'm one who says this often, and that is, if there is a ship on course to hit an iceberg, that ship, as slowly or as quickly as it moves, doesn't need to make a 180-degree turnaround to miss it. But it simply must, if it's on its way, boom, it simply must shift a little bit. And now it totally misses it. And it is the same for us, that with just the slight shift in our awareness and in our consciousness, we can begin to move out of that place of despair, out of that place of anxiety or fear, out of that place of depression or what's the use, and even out of that place of fear of missing out. And we can begin to actually embrace and recognize the gift that every day has in store for us. What's important is that you be willing to actually not be in the future and not be in the past, but to be fully present. I guess it is a gift, and that's why it's called the present, right? Because the gift is in the present. It's in this moment. But many of us, because we're future tripping or dwelling in the past, don't know or don't remember quickly how to actually be fully present. Here's what Ernest Holmes has to say. Ernest Holmes is the writer, the author of The Science of Mind, and also the founder of religious science, now called Centers for Spiritual Living. And he says, here and now you are surrounded and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is yours? All of it. All of it. All of it. All of the infinite good is yours. You're surrounded and immersed in it. It's kind of like being a goldfish. You're surrounded by water and you're immersed in the water. How much of this water is yours? All of it. All of it is yours. And Ernest Holmes in the Glossary New Thought Dictionary, it says infinite intelligence is omnipresent, which means everywhere present. Because the mind of the universe is one indivisible unit, all of it is present everywhere your attention is focused. And it's interesting to recognize this and to know this. It's interesting to dwell upon this. What if, in fact, the goodness was everywhere present? What if I'm actually in it, but I'm refusing to see it? I'm refusing to hear it. I'm refusing to speak it. By making some simple shifts and changes in our lives, we can actually begin to live in the now moment, which is where the gift is. So what I'm going to invite you to do right now is actually practice this right now for yourself, so that when you find yourself in anxiety, when you find yourself in despair, when you find that you are future tripping or dwelling in the past, when you find that you're angry or sad, it's not about necessarily changing your feeling, but it is about fully being present so that you might know that your life is indeed the life of God. So here's what I'm going to invite you to engage upon right now. It's this simple practice of noticing. Now, in a lot of therapeutic modalities, this practice really helps people to get present so that they're not in their heads. You see, life doesn't happen in your head. Life doesn't happen in your mind. Life is happening as your body, inside and outside, and your thoughts. That it is a combination. You are that threefold nature. You are the unique, unrepeatable way that spirit is showing up. And you have a body. And your body has a mind, has a brain. And the idea is to be present and balanced in all areas. So sometimes what happens is that we get caught up in the mind, and the mind takes us down all these paths. And so is your mind using you, or are you using your mind? That's what you want to recognize. So here we go. Name, as you look around, right where you are, your surroundings, just name or point to 5 things that you see. So it can be a camera or computer in front of you. It could be the wall. It could be a light. It could be a chair. It could be a picture frame. It can be your hand. That's 5 things that you see, right? And then name 4 things that you can touch. So go ahead and touch your hair. I can touch my hair. You can touch the chair that you're in. You can touch the chair. Maybe your laptop, computer, phone, you can touch that. And if you're wearing a piece of jewelry, or maybe even just the texture, feel the texture of the shirt or blouse that you're wearing. That's 4 things that you can touch. All right? Now, 3 things that you can hear. So if you can hear me, you're hearing my voice, go ahead and just go la 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 la, because then you can hear your voice. And if you can snap your fingers, go ahead and snap your fingers. You can hear that. Or maybe there's some car activity or noise that's happening around you, or your dog, or a dog is barking, right? Those three things you can hear, right? Now, what about two things that you can smell? So go ahead and take your hand and the back of your wrist and just smell that. Maybe you have coffee in the background, or flowers nearby, or an air freshener. That scent, that's two things, right? And now one thing that you can taste. So you can just simply see if there's a flavor or a taste in your mouth, or if you have a beverage nearby, you go ahead and now's a good time to taste that and take a sip. Mm. Mm. So that's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That brings you fully present to this moment. It takes you out of anxiety, out of fear, out of future tripping, out of dwelling in the past, and it brings you to this moment. Now, if you notice, that particular exercise didn't have you thinking much. It just had you noticing with your senses, with your 5 senses. This next one, what I want you to notice is any body sensations. Notice as you just do a scan, notice if you feel any tension. Notice if there's any tingling anywhere. If you put your hands on your chest, you can notice your heartbeat maybe, or even if you do this, you might be able to feel your pulse. As you scan down your arms, notice how they're feeling. Notice if there's any tension in your neck and shoulders. Notice if your belly has any energy, or how your low back is feeling, and going into your hips and your thighs, if you're feeling relaxed, how your legs are, your knees, your toes. Notice if your hands are sweaty or dry. Notice any sensations there. And now, notice what your thoughts are. Notice, and go ahead and type it in the chat. You won't offend me. It's okay. Those are your thoughts. They're not going to offend me. But go ahead and write it in the chat. Notice what your thoughts are. Are your thoughts, this is silly? Or, wow, I really feel present? Or, oh, I didn't notice that I feel a little energy in my stomach area. Or, I do notice this little thing in my lower back. I wonder what that is. And notice if you actually make it mean something. You know, there's that joke about, I have a hangnail, so I look it up on the web, and it can be a hangnail or cancer. Because people automatically go to this place of like, oh, I have a hangnail. Oh, it's cancer. Or, oh, it's, I'm dying. Or, oh, it's this thing. And what we want to actually be able to do is just be present in the body, and then be present and notice where our thoughts go. Now, how does this fit into a daily spiritual practice? And what does this do for me embracing the now? And why is it so important to embrace the now? Like, why do I want to know that my stomach is jittery? Why do I want to know, where there might be some tension in my body? And the idea of all of this is to get away from future tripping, not planning, because our U.S. culture really has us planning our future, planning for retirement, planning for a vacation, planning for family visits, planning for a trip of sorts. That's okay, but I'm talking about future tripping, and I'm talking about dwelling in the past, because our society tends to go into those two extremes. Being fully present now is really where life is. Life cannot be lived anywhere else. You can't live life in the future, in your mind, in your head, and you can't live life in the past. That's already gone. It doesn't even exist anymore. How are we living in the gift, in this now? How do we embrace it? How do we make the most of it? How do we stay in that adventure of this moment? Here's where I am. Here's what I'm feeling like. Here is where I am alive. This is where I am alive. It's in this moment. Forget about the bills. Forget about the people. Forget about people pleasing. Forget about all of it. In this moment, this is where you are alive. This is where you are experiencing life. I remember that one no, it was a TV show, it was a movie. I think it was called Click. And, the guy had this magic remote control. And, all during the boring moments at his kids' baseball games or recitals or things of that nature, be like, let me just fast forward through that because that's not fun. Or, I don't want to argue. Or, and he would push the fast forward button. And before you know it, his whole life has been this fast forward and never really being present. And practices like these, noticing, though we might not consider them spiritual practices, they really are spiritual practices. They are the practices that bring us to this moment where all the good is, all the good. Everything that life has to offer is right here in this now moment, not the 10 minutes ago, not the hour ago when we started the service. It is here. And if the universe is indeed conspiring for your highest good, are you present enough to be there to accept it? Or are you like future tripping or dwelling in the past? So practices like recognizing our breath and being in this moment and slowing down. These are the times for us to kind of really recognize that the gift is in this moment. We've been hoodwinked to believe in an identity that we're really not. You think you're your age. You think you are your race or your gender or your sex or your sexual orientation. You think you are how much money you make or, where you live or your religion. You think you're all of that. And those are just the accessories of life. You are the unique and unrepeatable way that God shows up. And so when you embrace this now moment, you get to recognize that these accessories, these accoutrements, are just the byproduct of living in this human form, but you are life itself. And you get to create from this place. Wasn't it Wayne Dyer who said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change? And so if you begin to actually look at life, my life, my breath, my very existence is the life of God, is life itself. Life is conspiring for my highest and best even now. And we begin to look at it from that perspective versus the perspective of doom and gloom versus the perspective of my life is over, versus what society would have us believe, that whoever dies with the most toys wins, right? When we begin to actually see life from this place of, I am interested in bringing my attention to this moment, to the joys of this moment, because it is from this moment on, in my mindfulness practice, in my meditation practice, that I can be fully present to love, that I can be fully present to share, that I can be fully present to recognize that the life before me is also the life of God. I don't want to be one of those people who fails to recognize that good is happening in every moment. And I know that sometimes I forget. And I know that sometimes I go, oh yeah, I fell into that. And those are great opportunities to just bring back the attention, to bring back my awareness that my life is the life of God. I love what Ernest Holmes says here. All ideas are formed in the present, since there is neither a past nor future to reality. So if I want a new idea, if I want a new way of being, I have to be present, because all ideas are formed in the present. And in The Alchemist, the book The Alchemist, the author writes, when each day is the same as the next, it's because people fail to recognize the good things that happen in their lives every day that the sun rises. I remember when I loved writing, doing a journal practice, I would write down, 3 things that I was grateful for, or 3 things, and that every day I can just on one page, until that page was filled, write this gratitude list that would really help me be present. Let me see where good is in my life right now. Let me just be present to the joy within me. Let me be present to the peace within me. Let me be present to the abundance within me. I love it when Esther Hicks, when she is speaking as Abraham, talks about, when we stay in that path for 17 seconds, and I don't know that 17 seconds is a magic number, but that we continue to actually go, let me just be in this presence of my abundance. Like, let me recognize the abundance in, through, and as my life in this moment. Wait a minute. I have an abundance of cells in my body, millions of them. They're doing their gig. It's circulating. Wait, I'm breathing in. I am breathing in a lot of air, and I am letting go of a lot. And my body is generating and doing even beyond my even thinking about it. It's a good thing I don't have to remember to breathe. And that's how abundant my life is, just even right here in my body. And to the degree in which I continue to recognize the abundance that is flowing in, through, it as my body, how my liver functions, how my stomach functions. Nevertheless, let me take out my intestines and see how long they are. Like, the abundance of all of that, right? And that as I begin to recognize how my body flows, how I can assimilate and how I can eliminate, like, wow, the abundance and the function of my body. And as I stay in that, all of a sudden, recognizing how abundant life is, that it only attracts and creates more because I am in it, I am recognizing it. The universe is conspiring for your highest and best. That is indeed life. And so when I embrace the now, I can actually be in that flow. And then lastly, as we close out today's inspirational message, even though I don't necessarily agree with the verbiage 100%, I might change it or tweak it a little bit. Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now is absolutely brilliant when he says, if you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place. I like the second part of that because it really speaks to the first part. He says, primary reality is within, and secondary reality is without. And it's not about getting it right as much as it is as you recognize the truth of who you are on the inside, the eyes in which you see the outside, it all begins to fall into place. And it all begins to fall into place because we dare to live using and utilizing and benefiting from our spiritual practices. Our spiritual practices remind us of the truth. When we pause for a meditative moment, when we pause in awe of life, when we're in that prayer, in that affirmative prayer and affirming the truth of who we are, when we're reading inspirational books or hearing inspirational messages and journaling and visioning, when we're in that sacred service, recognizing that our life is the life of God, when we are being generous with that which we've been given and we participate in the beloved community, we get an opportunity to live from this place. And this place is the affirmation for the week. I am present with what is. I am open to the possibilities. And I'm only open to the possibilities when I am present with what is. So, beloveds, as the universe conspires for your highest good, as you recognize that you are the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent, bomb way that God shows up in human form, be present and be open to the possibilities of your greatness. Let's go into prayer. How grateful I am in this moment to simply speak the word, recognizing that my life is the life of God, and that this one power, one presence, one life that created everything out of itself is my life and is the life of all. That not only am I surrounded by this power and presence, I am immersed in this power and presence, which then means that I am one with this power and presence. It is my life. I am the unique and unrepeatable way that life is showing up. And as this is my truth, this is the very truth for all. For all. And when I pause to recognize that, I am in awe. I am in awe of this community, Vida Spiritual Learning Center. I am in awe of all life. I am in awe and grateful for the spiritual tools that we get to use for our personal and global transformation. I am grateful that we are awakening to our spiritual magnificence and that together we are creating a world that works for all. So, I give thanks for the blessing of this message. I give thanks for the message that is already being lit up within each and every person. And I give thanks for the words spoken. For this and so much more, I remain in deep, deep appreciation as it also appreciates in our lives collectively and individually. This is the word spoken, and this is the activity that I am looking forward to seeing be made manifest. So I release this word. I say yes to it just as life has said yes to it. Yes to our peace, our abundance, our joy, our health and wholeness, our oneness, our awakening to our spiritual magnificence. It is so, and so it is. Thank you, beloveds.